Hey guys, we're back with the second problem we're going to work on today. So the first video showed you the first problem of today's lesson, and this problem is actually going to take you through the third problem of this lesson, and then you'll have the other 3 or 4 problems to work on today. As you can see, we have a very similar shape. We have a block letter C, and the only difference in this time is you actually have 3 missing sides to figure out. So we're going to have to figure out what side X is, what side Y is, and what side Z is. And then after we have all of the dimensions for the block letter C, then we'll be able to figure out the perimeter because we'll be able to add up all the sides. Then we're going to have to divide this up into squares or rectangles in order to figure out the area. So let's kind of get started. Let's see how we do today. So I'm actually going to start with side Z first. I know the top of the C is 12 centimeters long. And I know the opposite Z down here at the bottom is also going to be the same. So I know that Z is going to be 12 centimeters. Same thing with Y. This part of the C here is the opposite side right here. So if this line is 6 centimeters, I would know that Y would also have to be 6 centimeters. So those two are pretty easy to tackle. Letter X is going to be the tricky one. That's going to be the one that's a little bit difficult to figure out. So I'm going to go over and look at its opposite side. I know the opposite side total is 9 centimeters long. So if I took my red marker here and I started here at this X and I drew a line the whole way down to this point, I know that whole thing would have to be 9 centimeters long. Well, we only have the first part of it is 4. And it looks like it might be the same side, but we have to be exact. We can't just kind of guess and think about it. So we're missing this chunk right here. And this is important. If I draw an arrow the whole way over to this chunk, I can see that this part here that's 2 centimeters long actually fits right here. So I know that this part would have to be 2 centimeters also. It's kind of like the missing part. I took my finger and I kind of just pushed it in, and that's the missing piece. So now I know that from this line here to this X here would have to be 6 centimeters. Well, now I can easily figure out this bottom part that's still missing. If I know the total is 9 centimeters long, I know that 6 plus something has to equal 9. And I know that something that's missing would actually be 3. So this is really 6 plus X equals 9. And therefore, I know that X has to equal 3 centimeters. So I'm going to write that now. X is 3 centimeters. So I know that 4, this line here, plus this line here 2, is 6, plus this line here is 3. So 4 plus 2 is 6, and 3 more is 9. Now I know this whole length matches this line length over here. So now we have every dimension of our shape, so I can solve for the perimeter. If you think back to our formulas for perimeter when you're working with squares and rectangles, perimeter is just 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, and you add them together. Or you can just think perimeter is add up all of the sides. We're going to have a lot of sides to add up. So we're going to have to be really, really careful here to make sure that we get all of them. And I'm going to kind of erase some of this work that I no longer need, just so it's a little bit easier for you to see. All right, so let's start organizing here. So perimeter equals blank. And then we'll organize our data, I think, over here today. So perimeter. Again, I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to kind of work my way around. So I know the top is 12. I know the left side is 9. So I'm going to cross those off as I go. I know the bottom I figured out is 12. Now, I have some little numbers here. So I'm going to kind of combine these just to make it a little bit easier of math. We figured out this little side was 3, and this line here is 6. So I'm going to add those together. 3 plus 6 is 9. I know that this little line here is 2, and this line here is 6. I'm going to add those together. 2 plus 6 is 8. And the last side that I have to do is right here, 4. And now we're just going to add all of those numbers together. So I do see a couple doubles. So I know that 12 plus 12, I know is 24. I know that 9 plus 9 is 18. And then I don't have a double here, but I know that 8 plus 4 is 12. And that'll make the math a lot easier. So I've used the 12, I've used the 12, I used the 9, I used the 9 to get 18, and then I used the 8 and the 4 to get 12. And now I can easily add those up together. If you want to break it up into two problems, you can do the 24 plus 18 and then add your total to 12. I'm just going to do them all at once. 4 plus 8 is 12, and 2 more is 14. So carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 more is 4, plus 1 more is 5. So I know my perimeter is 54, and our units today are centimeters. Now we're going to try to solve for the area. And if you remember our conversations the last few days about area, area is the length times the width when you're dealing with a rectangle or a square. Right now we do not have rectangles and squares to work with, so we actually have to make some. And I can actually see a total of 3 rectangles or squares that I can build probably fairly easily. So I'm going to kind of show you what I mean. So all I'm going to do is actually I'm going to take this top part and I'm going to make this a rectangle. I'll use my red and I'm going to draw a line right here. And I'm going to make that another rectangle. So that I have 2. And then I'm going to have a big one down here also that I'm going to make blue, just so you can see. So now I have 3 rectangles, maybe a square. It's kind of hard to tell. My drawing's a little off, which is fine. But I have 3 that I'm going to have to figure out. And then I'm going to add the area of this with the area of this with the area of this to get my total area of our irregular shape. So now I'm looking for lengths times widths. And I can see right away that this whole line is 12 centimeters. And I know that the line down is 4. And those are all the same. So I can easily take and multiply my length times my width. Get rid of this just for a second. And I know 12 times 4 is 48. So I'm going to put 48 centimeters squared. I'm going to actually skip the red and go down to the blue because I think this one's a little bit easier also. I can see down here at the bottom, I know the whole length is 12. And we already figured this length out a little bit earlier today when we were trying to figure out the perimeter. We know it's 3. So again, I can take this length from here to here is 12. This length from here to here is 3. And I can multiply those together. And I know 12 times 3 is 36 centimeters squared. So my black rectangle on top, my blue rectangle on the bottom, they were easy peasy. I figured those out right away. This little guy here is going to be the tricky one. For our measurements, we have from this point to this point is 9 centimeters. Well, that doesn't help us because we're only trying to figure out this sliver right here. But if you remember from earlier, we were given this side is 2. So if we know this sliver is 2, this opposite side over here also has to be 2 centimeters. So I have one of the sides, but now I need to figure out the top or the bottom. All we know so far is the whole bottom is 12 or the whole top is 12. We want this sliver right here. Well, I can see that this part here that I'm going to kind of highlight in red for you, we were given this measurement here from my x to this x, we were given was 6. So I know this isn't drawn to scale, so it looks like this number should be a little bit smaller. But if we know the total up here is 12, all I would really have to do is do this side plus this side equals 12. And that'll figure out my missing side right here. So if I know that something plus 6 has to equal 12, well, I know that this side here actually has to be 6 also. So I know it's not drawn to scale. I apologize. I kind of just drew it freehand. But now, if I know this part is 6, and I know this side is 2, I can multiply those together. And I know 6 times 2 is 12 centimeters squared. So now I'm going to take my 48, my 12, my 36, my area of all 3 of them, and I'm going to add those together. So I know 48 plus 12, we'll do that one first. 8 plus 2 is 10. 4, 5, 6. And now I'm going to add my area for the blue rectangle of 36. 6 plus 3 is 9. So my area is 96 centimeters squared. All right, guys, I know this was a long video, but this is very difficult, so I want you guys to try your best. You have 3 or 4 problems to work on. If you get stuck along the way, remember, try to figure out your dimensions first. Perimeter, just add up all of your sides once you have them. Area, look for squares and rectangles. And if you really can't figure it out, please send me a private comment through Google Classroom. I can read your comment, figure out which problem you're stuck on, and I can try to give you a hand. All right, guys, good luck. Have a great rest of your day.